Shams Charania, our guy from The Athletic, reports on Twitter that the Bulls are expected to shut down Lonzo Ball for the remainder of the season. Pain and discomfort have persisted in Ball's left knee following 2 surgeries at the beginning and end of 2022. Lonzo Ball shut down. No surprise there, but just if it's official, they can move on, and we don't have to say, well, maybe if he comes back. He's not coming back.
So they are 2 years and $40 million into the 4-year, $80 million contract that he signed coming to the Bulls. And to date, he has appeared in 35 games.
Yeah.
Out of
35 games.
164.
$40 million and 2 years left on the deal.
Yeah.
35 games, $40 million, 2 years left on the deal. When you're talking about what has gone wrong for Arturas Karnisovas, and you look at that, pretty much that's where everything starts.
Yeah.
Lonzo Ball's unavailability has dictated the course of this season. It's certainly dictated what happened the second half of last year. Those 35 games, boy, those were fun.
Well, I mean, you do just feel bad about what has happened to Lonzo Ball. It is just here's a guy that when he did play, those 35 games were glorious, right? The Bulls were the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference when he went down, and it's just awful because we thought at the time that he was hurt and that he would be back for the playoff run. Remember? And he hasn't played since. And, frankly, David, I'm not sure when he plays again.
I don't know how well he'll play if he plays again.
Yeah.
It's a fair question to ask because we're talking about a player who came into the league in 2017. We all remember that, but he has yet to play more than 63 games in a season, and that was only once. And he didn't play this year, 35 last year, 55, 63, 47, 52. He's not somebody whose durability has ever been an asset. It's always been a liability, and you wonder about what is ahead for the Bulls. And frankly, I think practically speaking, you wonder how they can count on him when they do make their plans moving forward, whatever those plans may be.
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that, and I feel like I just feel kind of bummed for the player. This is not a happy thing. The reality is, you say whatever you want. I wish he would play. Why doesn't he play? KC had a text last time we talked to him, not this time. He said that he can't run or cut. Difficult to play the game of basketball if you're not able to run or cut without pain.
So applying this news with the breaking news that we came into today addressing Patrick Beverley becoming a Bull, you wonder, is this buying time? Okay, you want to catch lightning in a bottle, buying time, getting into the playoffs, doing whatever you can in the postseason, winning a game, maybe winning a series. I think it's unlikely. But Mully, is this trying to buy them time to next year because they think if they run it back and they re-sign Vooch and Lonzo Ball comes back, doesn't this put all of those potential plans into question? Because I just don't know if you can count on that. So this uncertainty has to shroud every decision you make if you're AK.
Yeah, I mean, listen, they're never going to be the team that we thought they were. That's not possible because, in addition to Lonzo Ball's unavailability, other guys are aging. It's not like, I'm not sure any of us are the entity we were a couple of years ago. Certainly not you.
Thank you.
I'm just kidding.
Thank you.
I'm kidding.
That's all right.
You're fantastic.
All right.
I'm making a joke because it's clearly me that is aging too much. But the point is, how much does DeMar DeRozan have left as things go on? I know he's got another year left on his deal, but I'm just saying we don't know. It's been a bad season for the Bulls. It was a lost season for Zach LaVine when he first started out, and then he couldn't play in the back-to-backs, and you've gotten to a point now they're losing 6 straight games. We knew this was coming. This is not a surprise. It's just confirmation of what we already knew, that this was not a good deal. that this was not going to be something that ended well. And now the reality is you just missed a full calendar year after a couple of surgeries that were supposed to be cleanup jobs. And I don't know that you can confidently say if or when he plays again, if he ever plays again. And if he does, I don't know how you say how long he lasts.
I think right now, if is leading when by about 10 points in that game.
And so you're talking about it as if it's like breaking news, but we never expected him back anyway, is my point. And
that's a good point.
It's sad because it's official, but it's
sad.
We knew it.
It's official. We did know it was coming. I do want to push back a little bit, at least from my own standpoint.
Okay.
When they did sign him, I wasn't as down on the contract or the deal because I felt like that was the move they needed to make at the time. And you have to spend money to invest in guys that at that point in time, they didn't have a lot. Mm-hmm. They didn't have the kind of talent, and you didn't know it was coming. So I wasn't as against the deal because I'm not going to pretend to think, okay, you know what? I thought this was fraught with peril because he was going to get injured a year into it or 35 games into this contract. Nobody saw that coming, I don't believe. Maybe we should have been cautious, but I thought it was a good deal, and I felt like the first 35 games, you're like, oh, yeah, it was a really good deal. Mm-hmm. But maybe in retrospect, we should have expected something like this to happen throughout the course of a contract because he is a guy that came pre-injured.
Yeah, he's never been healthy. He's never been healthy. There were those 35 games, and I don't even remember them. They're so long ago.
I'd like to know a couple things that we don't know.
Yeah.
And one of them is regarding, happens all the time in pro sports, injury settlement. What happens and what would be the cost to get out of this contract, to free yourself up, to move ahead and to move on from this deal? What would that cost in terms of a financial commitment? And is that something the Bulls would consider? And secondly, just what is the plan at point guard moving forward? Is this become priority number one in free agency, the draft, both? Is this become the boogeyman position now for the Bulls because you maxed out on Zach LaVine, you've got an aging DeMar DeRozan, you've committed to wanting to get in the Vooch sweepstakes, but how much is that going to cost you? What's the plan at point guard?
Well, I mean,
I don't know.
Great question. It's a great question. I think the problem is, David, that the reality, regardless of whether how much does it cost you, what can you get out, what should you do with Lonzo Ball? The fact is the guy's missed like how many straight games, like 127 straight games or something, right? And that's a season and a half. And the fact is more than a season and a half. And the fact is that it would be wrong to imagine he can come back next year, given the fact that you were waiting for him to come back this year. Remember that it was like this kind of, wow, how's he doing? Is he coming back? Oh, he had to have a second surgery. He'll be back by December. Oh, okay, we're at December. What about January? Is there a chance? Now here we are. He's not going to play at all this year. And you know what? I hope that helps him save his career. But I don't believe that you can move forward with a belief that he's going to help you in any fashion.
You can, but it would be foolish. Because he hasn't played in the last 106 games. He's not going to play in the last 23.
Yeah.
So moving forward, you have to plan as if he's not going to be around. And if this is the finality you needed to mentally get to that point, okay, here it is. But you get to this offseason whenever it starts, and maybe it will be prolonged now because Patrick Beverley is here. Whatever that means, we'll find out. I like it, what Casey Johnson said, and I tweeted this out. It's a 23-game chemistry experiment. So we'll find out. But regardless, he's not the long-term solution. Lonzo Ball isn't either. So what are you going to do, AK? Because now this is priority one.
Yeah, you've spent $30 million on nothing, essentially, right? You've spent $40 million, and he did play 35 games. That's less than half a season. So we'll say it was worth $10 million.
Pretty good rate.
But that's
$1 million a game.
I mean, it's not that good, is it?
No. And Io is a restricted free agent at the end of this year, as Brandon Fryer points out. Mm-hmm. Io is still somebody who could be on his way out the door, and you're shrugging. Because I know what you mean. He's a good guy to have as a rotational guy, as a guy who's great in the locker room.
Solid, great pickup. And, I'm not I'm not dissing Io in any way, but I don't think your season is going to rest one way or another on whether he's there to lead you.
You're not changing your season projections based on his availability or if he's around.
No.
Yeah.
It's hard, man.
Although
it's hard to say that kind of thing.
How much fun will it be, though? I'll get back to the prisoner of the moment thing.
Okay, here we go.
There's going to be a time in the final 23 games where Ayo Dosunmu is going to be lining up next to Patrick Beverley, and it's going to be an all-Chicago backcourt.